Hello, everyone, and welcome to the April edition of Anita Says. And I'm Anita Ratnam. If you are looking to join a community of people who care about Indian dance, its traditions, and shifting contours, then you have come to the right place. Anita Says is a monthly podcast about the many wonderful and impactful events and moments that occur in the world of dance, Indian dance, a world we have all been a part of, and a world that has chosen us because, we don't choose dance. Dance picks us. Now, for those of you who have tuned in and want to know what happened to the March edition of the podcast, when you joined the March edition, all you heard was my welcome and then radio silence, radio noise, nada, nothing. Well, let me tell you what happened and why it was decided by my team that I should put out an edition with zilch on it. Very late in February, I was shocked to discover that my face, voice, and likeness, in fact, everything that my social media team put their heart and soul into crafting my Instagram presence, had been stolen, manipulated, misused, and targeted towards individuals by unscrupulous scammers to ask for money. When the videos were revealed to me, I was shocked. A sense of personal violation and betrayal were the first emotions. I could not imagine that all my assets, a trained public speaking voice, careful framing of shots, judicious editing, and an overall look of maturity and elegance, would become easy fodder for criminal activity. So, in consultation with my team, we thought that if all my hard work of writing, rewriting, and carefully constructing a social media persona that would be distinctive and positive could be a scammer's ideal fodder for misuse, then why even bother to say anything for the March edition? Why not just do nothing? So, by releasing a silent podcast, I stood in solidarity with the entire creative industry whose works are being blithely misused and mangled by AI with no acknowledgement or conscience and used by scammers. We know that this malaise is not subsiding, and individual and independent creative expression through art is being challenged more than ever. That was the reason for the silent podcast for March 2025. Now, it must have confused many, but I hope you can get a glimmer of what I was going through a month ago. Thank you to all those who reached out with questions and care, and thank you for returning to this month's sharing. We also welcome new friends who may be listening for the very first time. This is Anita Says, a monthly capture of the global world of Indian dance, and I am Anita Ratnam. And there is so much to talk about. I had 3 important performances this month. 2 of my favorite shows that seem to be always in demand. A Million Sitas, created in 2010, and Nachyar Next, created in 2019. The shows were staged in 3 vastly different venues, and I will come to that. I also watched an incredible multimedia dance and theatre performance to mark the 75th anniversary of Darpana, the dance academy that Mrinalini Sarabhai founded in Ahmedabad. And can you believe it? But my little baby, Nartaki.com online, is 25 years old. We'll tell you more about that later. It's now becoming more and more evident that dancers and choreographers have to stay adaptable and flexible as performance spaces differ vastly in India. And let me give you my own examples. Some of you may already have had these experiences, but each one is a teaching moment. For the 3 performances I did in March, each were in very different spaces. One was a glittering hotel ballroom, but no backdrops or sets, nothing to drape anything on, just an elongated built stage with a carpet and lights focused on rigged tree stands. No green room or makeup area, no waiting area, nowhere to exit or enter from. No stage rehearsal for spacing and adjustment. For a special Women's Day event in Mumbai, in a room full of A-list social elite and film stars, I felt a bit let down. However, experience has told me that my edited performance of A Million Sitas, cut down from 75 minutes to 45 minutes, was only part of the afternoon celebrations. Speeches, awards, panel discussions, an elaborate food buffet. I was the entertainment, and I had to make the impact with all the distractions around me. I have been in this situation many times, and ironically, these are the presenters who are very generous with artistic fees. Now, how to make an impactful entrance? How to adapt and change the choreography so that, in a brightly lit hall where blackouts were not possible, the audience would stop talking, look up from their devices, and look at us. Look at us, the performers. So I entered with my co-actor Uma Satyanarayana through the audience, inviting them to the storytelling session. Singing, talking live, it was a dramatic way of commanding attention. Without light transitions to help set and shift the mood of this multi-character performance that featured 5 women from the Ramayana epic, we had to generally pick up the pace of the entire show, shorten our dialogues, use more humor, and generally keep the women always engrossed and engaged. In Bengaluru, we had a conventional theatre with a mandatory green rooms, proscenium stage, and a lighting rig. However, the tech rider we had sent earlier to the organizer was not conveyed to the theatre's tech crew. This meant there was no pre-setup in place for us to arrive and tweak. We had to start from scratch at 10 a.m. for a 6:30 p.m. show. In many instances, if the performance is part of a dance institution's special annual event, we, the artists, have to be prepared for speeches, citations, shawl draping, gifting, etc. before the show starts. Again, how can we make a start with a bang? What is the first impression we can make? In Bengaluru, it was our very popular ensemble work, Nachiyar Next, the legend of Tamil mystic poet Saint Andal. 3 years after its first inauguration and iteration in 2019, I included a rap rhythm as my entry to trace the outline of Andal's geographical and historical location as a context for the audience. Now, this was inspired by the hit Broadway play Hamilton, which uses rhythm and rap as an impactful way of telling the story. As I began, I could see many in the front row tapping their feet and nodding their heads in sync. I'm telling you, inspiration can come from everywhere and anywhere. Since COVID, starting slow and gradual seems to have taken a backseat to making a wham, strong entrance. It is my way, perhaps, of confronting an increasingly distracted audience. Some of you may think otherwise, and it would be great to hear from you. But for me, a strong start and an equally strong ending is now a must. Quiet and soft just does not seem to work any longer. Loud and strong seems to be what gets the attention. In Mumbai, we arrived at the glittering NMACC, the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Centre. The backstage was awesome, very similar to the giant theatres, Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, Sadler's Wells, and Sydney's Opera House. The yawning corridors and loading zones were full of costumes, extra props, and backup sets for Phantom of the Opera, which was playing at the large Grand Theatre. Our show was slated at the much smaller 190-seater Studio Theatre. A beautiful large backstage, spotless green rooms, and super clean toilet facilities. Now, dancers, you know what a gift that is in Indian theatres. Greeted us along with fresh poha, toast, hot coffee, tea, and fresh juice. Lunch, dinner, tea were extensive spreads of Indian and continental cuisine. A coffee machine was placed to work full-time. The head chef was making the rounds to check the freshness of the food quality. The super fresh burrata cheese salad with crisp rocket lettuce and microgreens garnished with candied walnuts and figs was calling out my name. We were all very impressed, I have to say. The entire crew were dressed smartly in all black and ready to help us set up. The acoustic quality of the space was incredible, and everything seemed in place except the design of the actual theatre itself. With only one entrance, no crossover provision, no wings, and a steeply raked seating arrangement, I knew from attending shows at the Studio Theatre earlier that Natyad Next would have to be reblocked and choreographed specifically for this space. The lighting grid was above us at a distance, and the angle of the throw for the iconic mirror sequence took time to adjust due to the distance between the object and the lights. I dispensed with the suggestion of placing wings on the sides. Instead, we all quietly walked in as the invocation was being sung and took our places on black boxes placed against the wall. The entire cast was on stage in the shadows as the show started. We each made our entry and exits on cue and returned to the seating area to watch the story unfold. All three performances were staged to house-full audiences, standing ovations, and rapturous response. It's always a joyous moment to connect with colleagues in various cities from the dance world, but also to engage with newer audiences who would normally never choose to attend a dance show. All this happened, but not without our team being adaptable, flexible, and ready to change direction even at the last moment. So I have to salute the entire cast of A Million Sitas and Natyad Next, who were ready to adjust, adapt, and deliver a stellar performance. A big bonus was the chance for the Natyad cast to meet the entire orchestral ensemble during tea and dinner of the Phantom of the Opera. The all-Bulgarian musical team said that the NMACC was one of the best theatres in the world to perform in. In Mumbai, I had an extra blessing when 92-year-old Bharatanatyam Guru Kalyanasundaram Sir of Sri Rajarajeshwari Natyakala Mandir called me. He could not attend the performance due to poor health, but took the time to make a telephone call after his son Hari Krishna shared his praise and excitement after watching the show. In a frail voice, Guruji told me how he has been watching me from the time I was a teenage student of Adyar K. Lakshman, and how my interpretation of the Ashtaraga Malika Nitya Kalyani is the best he has ever seen. With almost every elder in my family having passed on, I needed to hear the voice of someone with over 9 decades of life, wisdom, and visual experience. Sometimes that kind of applause and praise means more than a house full and a standing ovation. You're listening to Anita Says, a monthly podcast about the world of Indian dance, and I am Anita Ratnam. With more and more dance shows being performed in what is now called alternate spaces, gurus, teachers, and performers themselves need to reorient their choreography to not be in full frontal mode. What if the audience is seated within touching distance from you? What if there is no lighting and just general light? What if the audience is in the round, seated all around you? What if the seating is raked and the stage is right at the bottom? Where would you look? Where would your glance go? How will you adjust your performance? How will your abhinaya shift so not to be projecting, but more suggestive? How does place, space, and location impact the performance? Do dancers and dance makers actually think about this? Or are they just regurgitating what they have already been taught? There is so much to explore in alternate spaces. I remember trying out a choreography in an art space on a busy street. The dancers were placed against the wall inside the space. The audience had to sit and stand on the street, watching the performance which was happening in the gallery, but with a glass wall dividing them. It was a fascinating experiment in how and what to select in terms of movement and rhythm. Each month, I try to watch some dance performances. Even during my travels, I make it a point to attend dance, music, opera, ballet, or theatre wherever I am. Well, this time, I was very fortunate to attend the landmark Platinum Anniversary of Darpana Academy in Ahmedabad. The dream of Mrinalini Sarabhai, Bharatanatyam dancer and visionary, the 75th year was marked by a stunning multi-visual presentation of Meanwhile Elsewhere. Inspired by the writings of Italo Calvino, his 1972 book Invisible Cities is a post-modern novel that explores the relationship between place, memory, and desire. The 90-minute interdisciplinary performance included dance, music, theatre, improvised movement, a stunning set design, dialogue, and imaginative props. There was a transparent scrim that divided the amphitheater from the front row seats, and the soft white fabric carried thoughtful lines from the author. Each day we bury the past and call it progress. In my dreams, I never sleep. I left, but the city followed me. I follow the threads, but the pattern eludes me. Special mention has to be made of the sound design, where the live ghatam percussion blended seamlessly with the recorded music. Acoustically and visually, the evening was a stunning success. The entire visionscape, devised brilliantly by director Yadavan Chandran, Darpana's artistic director, carried layers of meaning, with the actors appearing and disappearing into darkness, suddenly emerging from one arched doorway at the upper level, reams of white cloth weaving a pattern, only to be suddenly yanked and descending into a heap of meaningless cloth. Each section appeared and ended in 5 to 7 minutes, giving the viewers a haiku-like mosaic, and everything seemed to float independently until the very end. A charming vignette of a hitchhiker and a truck driver, and all that was requested at the end of the ride was a kiss on the cheek in lieu of payment. That moment touched me. The nostalgia and innocence of growing up in high school in Ahmedabad, where historic buildings and memories are rapidly crumbling in the name of modernity and progress. The spine of Meanwhile Elsewhere is a conversation that traveler Marco Polo has with Emperor Kublai Khan, the author of the fabulous dream city Xanadu. 4 actors played Marco Polo, all women wearing a peacock feather on their duster jackets. Director Yadavan opened and closed with Mallika Sarabhai's voice, but at no moment did he center her as the star of the show. Meanwhile Elsewhere was a perfect example of an ensemble that worked seamlessly with trust and mutual respect. Sitting in the cool evening of Natarani, with the open, dark sky and the Sabarmati River as the backdrop, listening to the excited voices and questions of so many students energized me. The post-performance discussion was bristling. This variety of curiosity and enthusiasm is missing in Chennai. I don't feel the beating pulse of dance and inquiry here anymore. Chennai does have world-class artists who live and work in their silos and then travel the world to showcase their art. They return to their cubbyholes and the cycle continues. The camaraderie I saw and felt in Bengaluru and Mumbai is simply not here in Chennai. In terms of a varied and high-quality student audience, focus seems to have now shifted to Ahmedabad. It has world-class institutions in management, design and architecture, and is becoming an important cultural and creative center as well. You're listening to Anita Says, a monthly podcast about the goings-on, a capture about the world of Indian dance, and I'm Anita Ratnam. When Sam Altman, the billionaire CEO of OpenAI, praises Indian creativity for its unique use of AI, it should make us stop and think. At the center of the controversy between technology and human creativity is Studio Ghibli, the Japanese animation studio created by 4 individuals: Miyazaki, Takahata, Suzuki, and Tokugawa. Ghibli. It's an Italian word that means a hot, dry wind. In Italian, it is pronounced Ghibli with a hard G. In Japanese, the G is soft, Ghibli. Either way, the profusion of images that have flooded our devices is enormous. I got a forward of an image of myself via Ghibli in which I look Japanese. I've been Ghibli'd. I'm told that there is already an app that creates jatis. Someone tried to ask ChatGPT to write a poem about death. The result they thought was too wordy and not poetic enough. So maybe poetry is a domain that can remain with humans. Cinema, visual art, music, design are already impacted. Mythological heroes and villains are being redrawn in various levels of imagination and creativity. A young Durga is seen pulling her trolley on a walkway with a lion cub in tow. A cute cat is dressed up in Bharatanatyam attire and moving. All this seems entertaining and very cute to watch or scroll past. However, in universities, professors are frustrated with perfect essays being delivered by students who cannot speak grammatical English. There is so much change, impersonation, fake profiles, tumult, chaos, scams all around us. And then we have the reality and honesty of our bodies, ourselves, where we live, breathe, sweat, move, and feel. Can AI and technology replicate that? 25 years ago, we went online. Nartaki, the two phone directories, became the starting point for nartaki.com. What started as an information and connectivity resource, when access to our community was scarce and difficult, has become a full-blown one-stop portal for much of your dance news. In these last 25 years, information has become more democratic, and more legacy channels, media, and old habits have crumbled or vanished. News and dance information is in the palm of your hands, and there is every chance that many of you listening may not have read the monthly newsletter that we have been putting out for 20 years, or my own musings, Anita says, for the past 15 years. Yes, yet there it is. Quarter of a century later, through all the twists and turns, flips and flops, we are still here, a dancer's ally and companion, and an important space for discussion about dance and its many-layered world. We are not just storytellers, we are here to build a community. I've often felt that the website and online portal has extended its usefulness, that technology has shifted focus to the immediate here and now, that archiving may not be as valuable as we think it is, that old memories and films do not age well. Just when I think about all this and my own value in the world of Indian dance, I met with some young dancers in Bengaluru, two of whom told me that their US visas included the reviews they received on nartaki.com. So, bam! There was my answer. As windows and opportunities close for any kind of dance response and reports, as media is less and less interested in the art form and focuses more on celebrity and sensationalism, as Instagram reels get more and more bold to grab attention and increase followers, what does a quiet presence like Nartaki actually do? This podcast began as an audio replica of my monthly writings. What I wrote on the monthly blog went out as a newsletter, and then I recorded the writings as a podcast. However, after several months of doing this, I feel that this audio medium needs a more chatty, personal, and anecdotal approach. Maybe to all of you listening, my own experience of so many decades in the dance world of producing, funding, enabling, cheering, mentoring, and pioneering startups, creating a small ecosystem through festivals, conferences, talks, and travels, needs to be shared as insights, incidents, and yes, also the stumbles and the mishaps. An important note for all of you is that if you like this style and tone, if you want me to continue to do this, then I need to hear from you. Not just DMs to my personal devices or social media platforms, but on this channel. Tell us what you think. What would you like to hear more about? Who would you like as a guest on the show? This needs to be a two-way dialogue, or else I'll feel like I'm shouting into an echo chamber, and we have enough of that going on anyway. So on that note, I end with a greeting of a very, very happy birthday to my baby girl, nartaki.com, the portal and website that was born on April 14th, 2000. And this podcast that began in October of 2023. Thank you so much for listening. Tell your friends, subscribe, listen, share, write. Stay connected. In good cheer, wishing you all a safe and joyous April. I'm Anita Ratnam.